wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, big lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Casamigos to the face, baby, I don't need no space. Come in closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything.
Let it sit outside for a few days in the sun so it could bake and cure this 2K primer. I ended up putting 3 coats on there because the instructions said 2 to 3 coats, and I wanted to put as much on here as possible to try to get it blacked out in one blocking. So I already started blocking this, and I sprayed this with a guide coat. Some guide coat you can get at your automotive paint store. Guide coat black. We'll spray a little bit more on this area just so you can see. And we're using a 3M. This is our less expensive pink brand sandpaper in 240 grit. This is just some ordinary paper towel. One thing about this is if you're eating fried chicken, using Armor All, French fries, anything like that, you're better off washing your hands and wearing a pair of gloves. My hands are relatively dry in nature, so I do not leave like natural hand oils because all this stuff can cause you fish eyes. But even the glue on the sandpaper, leaving this from a roll of tape or sandpaper on your paint ready surface can cause paint issues. So what I have here is a piece of acrylic cut to the size of a block. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. We got another piece duct tape to it for a handle. I've been using this for years, and this is what I find makes panels really straight. So I just take the paper towel and clean the sandpaper out. And what you're going to watch me do is black this guide coat down. When you use a crosshatch pattern, which means go one way for a bit, and then the other way for a bit. Ultimately, what you're trying to achieve is to get this perfectly flat. You'll see it to start come around as you go along. Here, we'll use a paper towel. These are low spots where you still see the guide coat in there, and that's why they call it guide coat, because it guides you into making a flat surface. So you don't have to go this way all the time. You can go this way and this way. And what you want to do is flow out the low spots, or take the high spots down and make your surface completely uniform. See, we're going through the edge right there. Really, that means to stop at that point. But we can try to blend this in there without sanding off the edge. Still making this flat. I'm trying to do this without priming it again, but I'm at 240 and I'm already going through in spots, so that means we're going to have to prime it one more time. But after that, it should be relatively easy to block out because it'll already be 90% of the way there. Now, to make this step easier, I used a DA with 220 grit because that's what I had. And then I went on the first sanding with 240 grit. And that's what we're using right now. I thought this hood would be straighter than this, and I should have known better. And I should have started by blacking the hood down first with 150 grit. And that would have, the lower the grit, the faster it makes it flatter. However, the coarser the grit, the deeper the scratches, the more chance of the scratches showing up later. So it's a fine line. Maybe 180 would be the answer. A lot of old school guys would use a product called Feather Fill on Fiberglass. It's a polyester primer. It's really thick. It's like sprayable body filler, and it dries relatively fast, but it's very hard to sand. So I like to use 2K urethane primer, and that's what we got here. So what I would do after I hit it with the 240, it's really flat. I would just go over it real quick with a DA with 320 grit and then reprime the hood. And that way you get a nice smooth finish. Maybe reduce your primer a little bit, like 10% or something. That'll let it lay out super smooth. And then you could wet sand the hood with 400 grit or dry sand it with 400 grit. And maybe wet sand it real quick with 600 grit. And then you'll be ready for paint. Well, I'm painting this hood black first because there's going to be 2 rally stripes in the middle. And then I'm going to tape off the rally stripes and paint the silver on the outside of them. The reasons for this is twofold. If you have the stripe, it's easier to tape off. You have to reverse a stripe if you paint the stripe last. It's easier to just tape the stripe off, untape it, then clear the whole thing, and it will cover. If you did a side view, you'd have the stripe, the main color of the paint, then the stripe again, so the surface would be stepped. If you paint the stripe, then the color, then clear over the whole thing, there'll still be a little bit of lower spot where the stripe isn't, but you should be able to sand that out and get a smoother finish. Maybe I can get into this in a later video. I was hoping to just do priming and blocking on this, but looks like we may have to get into that a little further. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time. We'll catch you next time. Peace.